Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Casperless, the podcast where we think we know more about Smash than anybody else in the world. And that's because we kind of do. Not at all. Anyways, this is going to be episode 2 of our special roster Redux project that we are going to be doing all throughout season 5 here, where we are reimagining Smash from the beginning and basically rebuilding the roster from scratch. Last time we had, I forgot who we had.
Great.
Yes! Wow! We had Eben on last episode to help us build a roster for NES Smash Brothers. We picked out 8 characters in total who are going to be on that roster. And I'm just going to flash that image up here. I actually forgot, supposed to have this on the screen. Oh wow, everything is just wrong. Everything is broken. But it's fine. We're dealing with it. But so we picked these 8 characters last time around. We had Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Pit, Little Mac, Takamaru, and Simon Belmont to be our roster for NES Smash. But now today, I'm still here. Zantok, that's me. We've got Jonno here, as usual. But for today, our guest, he's been here quite a few times. It's Turbotaxer.
Where am I?
You're
are
in
you?
hell, sweet child. You're in hell.
Oh no. Oh no. It
Actually,
happened.
This is a fair representation of hell.
It did. It did happen. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh.
You're not
Well,
sorry.
I think you guys are here with
Your big toe will miss you.
me.
It's the only thing they found of your body.
I've missed Turbotaxer's big toe a number of times in my life.
Okay.
Probably not as many times as I found it.
Yeah, at my place.
There is much concern here. Much concern.
Our most recurring guest as of this point. Good old Turbotaxer. The guy.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That keeps there's a competition between a few people about who's the most recurring guest.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just a matter of at what point we are in the recording order.
Yep.
But with that, obviously this is our second episode of this project, so we are now moving on from the NES. We are going to the Super Nintendo here, and we have each once again had 8 characters that we have selected that we are going to be nominating for joining the Super Nintendo Smash Brothers, which we are just calling Super Smash Brothers, because the first game is just going to be called Smash Brothers. Because how many games did the Super Nintendo just add Super to the front of? A lot. So it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like before, all these characters must have been released before a certain point in time, which I had forgotten what that was. So I'm going to go see if I can find what the heck that was. It's been a comedy of errors the past couple hours, so things are a little chaos. Okay, so all that characters had to have been in a game that were released before or on December 31st, 1995. And once again, much like the last episode, we could only add 1 third party to the whole roster. Will any of us nominate a third party? Will one join Simon Belmont? I don't know. We'll get there. We gotta discuss things to find this out. But I think at this point, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time to go ahead and start going over our rosters, don't you think?
Choose your character.
Oh
Oh yeah.
A game early, but I'll accept it.
That's true.
Yes. All right, so like last time, we're going to be going in order of myself, Jonno, and then Turbotaxer, revealing 1 character from our list at a time with a brief reason as to why we included them. And then once everybody's revealed, we'll get into the big old debate. Fists will fly, people will cry, and some characters will make it, some characters will not. So, let's get things started.
Oh yeah.
The first character that I'm going to be revealing today is, honestly, I think of all the characters on my list, this is the character that is most needs to be there. This character would have been on the NES roster if they existed at the time. They just didn't, which is very unfortunate for them, because this character is they're just a symbol of Nintendo. They're a huge piece. It's Kirby. We need Kirby. Kirby needs to be in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I think the question will be where Kirby fits it. Is it now the 64? Uh, is there a question of technicality? Oh, can all of Kirby's copy abilities fit in this game? I think it can. Okay, so my first choice that I shall be revealing to you today, my lovely audience of friends. Maybe the food item is in this game because this character sure loves peaches. It's Bowser from the Super Mario Brothers franchise, King Koopa, if you will.
A good choice. A good choice. And he's actually got a character design now that would work in a fighting space, unlike the first Mario game.
That's true. Super Mario World, good times.
All right, Turbo. Who's your first character that you're going to be reviewing for us today?
Well, he might be fresh from the scrap heap, but I'm definitely going for Junkman from Mega Man 7. And don't forget, Mega Final
Mm-hmm.
and Fantasy.
Hell yeah.
Can't forget Funky Kong, Samurai Goro from F-Zero, Kamek, Old Dino Blade, Big Al from Pilot Wings, his beautiful face, and Peppy too. Yeah? Yeah.
Wait.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Wait, what?
Peppy is my friend and yours as well.
Wait. a
wait.
minute.
Wrong
Wait.
show, wrong list.
What? I'm so confused. What just happened?
Trevor just shared with us his secret dream for the Smash roster.
I wasn't supposed to tell you guys that.
I mean, I heard Samurai Goro and Kamek was like, all right, but then what did I hear Dynablade and Junkman?
Hell yeah.
Yes, you did.
I'm all about
So,
big bird action.
all right. Got you guys.
What?
So,
Son of a bitch.
now let me actually reveal my first choice. You know him. I love him. Got to see him represented. It's Ness.
Okay.
Okay.
He was in the original Nintendo 64 Super Smash Bros. I'd love to see him in a Super Nintendo version. Just representing the series fresh and right after release. Think that'd be fantastic.
Nintendo did get nominated in the previous episode, so yeah, I think Ness is a pretty good pick here as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice original list, though. I kind of enjoyed those characters that you had.
Jonno's gonna put Big Al on the next one now.
Honestly, it's not a bad choice. It's kind of interesting.
Everybody knows Big Al.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, but the wings, yep. Toy Story 2.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Okay, another kick from my side of things. Let's see here. All right. So, Jonno, you put down one of the biggest bads in all of Nintendo, quite possibly the biggest bad. But I'm about to put up his rival, Ganon. Not Ganondorf. Ganondorf doesn't exist yet, but Ganon does, because A Link to the Past exists now. So we can kind of use the blue trident wielding pig man design from that game.
Still a character I would not be upset about getting in Smash in the future, even though it's, another Triforce wielder, another Ganon. In this case, I would allow it.
Listen, if we have to get another Triforce wielder, it's Ganon or bust.
Uh-huh. And between Ganon and bust, I'd rather have Ganon.
Yes.
Mm.
Or Tetra.
Just throughout life. Yeah, Tetra's cool. My next choice, my next character. Yoshi.
Beautiful, beautiful
That is
choice.
Very much a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it my turn now?
Yes, yes, it is.
I guess I was just feeling a little spacey. Anyway, our favorite spacey from Smash Bros, Fox McCloud, is going to be my next choice.
Hell yeah. It's a shame about Star Fox 2, though.
Yeah,
Who
too
knows?
bad.
Maybe in this timeline, Star Fox 2 actually released.
Now that would be cool.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, 64 was revolutionary, and then we got stuck in re-releases of it since.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up.
Excellent.
I think the Super Nintendo has a lot of iconic games on it. You know, we've talked about Mario World. We have Earthbound, Yoshi's Island, Kirby started here. But there's also the Donkey Kong Country series, which were fucking huge on the Super Nintendo. And we already added Donkey Kong on our first list, so it only seems fitting to me here, with how popular those games were, that Diddy Kong gets a mention.
Diddy Kong. What about Kitty Kong?
Doesn't
That's
I don't
bananas.
think Kiddy Kong exists yet.
Oh, what a shame.
Even if he did, fuck no.
Maybe as an alternate costume.
I mean,
Pajamas, not the whole character.
sure. I don't think
Yeah.
alts are really going to be a big thing in this game, but I think each character would probably only have one alt in Super Smash, considering you only got 2 controllers.
Yep. Limitations and all that.
Yep.
Well then, we took it to space, we took it to the jungle, we took it to dreamland, but now we're gonna take it to the land of high fantasy and dragonkin and a fancy blue
Erdrift
hair
again?
guy. Oh yeah, no, Martha. Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Oh.
In all his
Oh.
glory. Back when he
You know-
didn't wear pants.
Ooh,
Also
that's
true.
fun.
Leotard Marth.
The best evolution of Marth. All that blue.
All that blue. Yep.
All that blue. It's giving a real big energy, a big blue energy. You know, just like our old pal Captain Falcon, who will be my third choice.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, Samurai Goro wouldn't have been a bad choice either. I mean, from your original creation that you shared with us at the start of the episode, Goro was pretty flush at the time. He could have chosen any of those 4. I think it would have been fine. But Falcon, I mean, look at his design. Look at his just personage. I'm about it.
Look at them arms.
Them arms, them abs, them everything, them shoulder pads. Those shoulder pads could like kill a man.
I want to wear those shoulder pads.
I'd be the best lawyer.
Yeah. So, it's Zantok's turn.
Yeah. So I think it's no surprise that we're gonna have some overlap between our lists, because I mean, come on. There's just some characters that you have to talk about. Whether they'll make our full list or not, that's a question mark. But they had to at least be considered.
Mhm.
And Bowser. Gotta consider Bowser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly why I also am contending we have to consider Fox.
Oh, was that?
Shoot.
I didn't even realize what you were doing there for a moment. It's like, oh, he's revealing Fox. Right.
Well, then I got a concession I gotta make as well. I also thought Yoshi deserved to be in this installment of Smash Bros.
I thought Junkman did, but apparently dreams are just dreams.
I thought Kamek did.
Kamek would be fun. Kamek would be fun, but we all need Yoshi. Yoshi's gotta be there. Like, Yoshi's been Mario's number 1. Number
Well-
one pal.
Well, we'll get there. All right, back to me. I guess that was really quick. Let's see here. You know, their game was very popular. I wasn't around to play it when it first came out, but so I assume it was super popular at the time, and people really wanted the character then. But I can't say that for certainty. But we gotta have Ness, right? We gotta have Ness.
Bring the young man into consideration. Yes. Yeah, so he eats things. He's a pink guy. It's so round. Might be thinking of any number of characters, but I'm thinking of Kirby.
Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Next time, Jigglypuff. Next
I'm
week.
also thinking of a pink character that sings beautiful melodies. Yeah, it's Kirby as well.
That was Patrick.
Have
Have you seen the gospel TikToks of Patrick singing? Anyway.
Dear God.
Next.
Okay. All right. So we have our first and possibly only character that's going to be on all three of our lists. Who knows how the rest of us will shake out? But for my next character, similarly, I can't really gauge how popular the game was when it first came out, but the Fire Emblem series has lasted a long time for Nintendo, so I'm assuming that those original games were popular enough, considering Nintendo allowed them to keep making more. And I thought about having Alm or Celica, but by this point in the timeline, we have 3 Fire Emblem. Actually, do we only have 3? Anyways, we have at least 3 Fire Emblem games at this point. But Marth is the star of 2 of them, so Marth became my Fire Emblem pick.
Nice. Yeah, genealogy was not until the following year, 96.
Gotcha. I have it all written down in a document. I just haven't looked at it in a bit, so I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if New Mystery, or not New Mystery, if Mystery of the Emblem hadn't released yet, I probably would have Alm in this slot.
Fair. Okay. You might call him Daddy Kong with how much he's going to hand it to you in the ring, but his real name's Diddy. Another crossover character between at least a couple of our lists here.
Indeed.
Ooh-ah.
I also got a confession. I also have Marth on my list.
Oh. Do.
How could you not? With 2 games in the series out with him as the main character, you got to include Fire Emblem.
Oh yeah. All
What
right.
he said.
We all got 2 characters left. I can say that for me, it's one third-party pick and 1 Nintendo pick left. I'm going to save my third-party pick for last because I just think that's more fun. So my last Nintendo pick is honestly, they were the last character that I slotted in. It was between them and 2 others that I was just debating who made the most sense for multiple reasons. And in the end, I decided to go with Mario's true number 1 pal, Luigi.
Not sure a brother can be a number 1 pal, but
Are you saying brothers can't be friends?
I'm saying brothers are enemies more often than they're friends. But
Boy, I will bully my brother to get down here and prove you wrong if I have to.
I mean, are you guys gonna duke it out first though? Because I feel like that's how brothers operate.
I mean, we
First
could.
they fight. First they're sour, then they're sweet, like Sour Patch Kids.
Dear God.
I'm reviewing all the times in the last several years I've referred to Trevor as my brother now. I have 2 characters left on my list, and they're both blue. So we'll just throw Ganon on there first.
The big
Dun, dun.
man himself.
All the pigs.
Damn.
We even have a pig as a guest, and I don't think because
God damn it, we did continue it.
It's because they're Bobboy Man. Listen to Bobboy Man by T-Fish on Spotify.
What a surprise! My pick as well is also going to be Gannett. Sorry, just joking. My next pick is actually going to be Diddy Kong, another one that's on all of our lists.
Hey, Diddy and Kirby. Look at that.
I like how Diddy Kong on the graphic is like a perfect like tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
I-
I did notice that when I was putting the because I put the characters in a very specific order based on the series that they are from, and both the series that characters were revealed for Smash, but also the order that we've been revealing series for our thing. So it worked out that way, and it also worked out that Martha's just in a column
Yep.
on all three of ours.
Nice.
All right, so we all got one character left. It's a third party pick for me. It might not be for you too. Hard to say, but I think mine is going to be a bit of a surprising pick, especially considering who I nominated in the last episode. The fact that I didn't nominate them again. I'm going with Tara Branford from Final Fantasy VI. I figured at this point in the timeline, Square and Nintendo, they're still best buddies. We haven't had the PlayStation N64 debacle occur yet. And while I thought about, the original Warrior of Light, I considered Cecil. I ended up going with Terra because Final Fantasy VI is the most recent game at the time, and it was very popular. Plus, we've only got one female on the roster so far with Samus, and Terra could be number 2.
Mm-hmm.
True. It's a very good pick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more about Terra later on. It's a solid pick. Okay, my final choice. He is an iconic soldier from an alternate Earth whose arts include a rush of bullets and hair trigger moves, fighting mysterious giants across many planes. It's Wamba from Xenoblade Chronicles.
God damn it! God damn it! I knew you were going Xenoblade. I should have seen it coming. God fucking damn it! Fuck!
What's wrong with Mega Man? You don't like that pick?
Thank God. God fucking. Why is Mwamba the new thing?
That was so good. Oh man. That's for the highlight reel right there.
God, videos are off.
So beautiful. For my last pick, don't nobody tell him, but I got his X. And by that I mean, of course, Mega Man X.
Oh. So this is interesting. We've got Mega Man and Mega Man X, or just X, depending on who you talk to, both being nominated for the same position. Only one, if either, will even be picked. So that could be an interesting debate.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm looking forward to it.
We will see where that goes.
Indeed. All right, so we've got a bunch of characters up here. We have a lot of crossover between our lists. More crossover than we had in the last episode, I believe. But we can only pick 8 characters here to accompany our NES roster for a total of 16.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's where we got to begin things. I know now. Obviously, there are 2 characters that are on all 3 of our lists: Kirby and Diddy Kong. That does not strictly mean that they have automatic passes to the list, because what if one of us actually cares about somebody else more on the list than one of those 2? I don't know, but I wanted to open up the discussion. Does anybody feel particularly strongly about any character and want to? What's the word I want to go for? Want to make a pitch for why we should not exclude them?
I actually have the opposite. A character that should be excluded at this point.
Oh, that's very unexpected. Okay.
Kirby.
Oh, motherfucker.
Is... I mean, Kirby's the obvious choice here. I think of any character between these lists, I mean, he's on off all 3 of ours for a reason. the highest profile character, arguably, at least from a new series, inarguably, that is not yet in Smash in this realm that we have created. It's got to be there.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree with that. Like Diddy Kong, I think there's an argument that even though he's on all three of our lists, I think there's an argument that Diddy Kong might not make it because we have so many good choices here. But Kirby, I think above and beyond every single character that we have on the board, Kirby is the number one. Gotta have Kirby.
Right, and I realize it's a highest profile is inaccurate looking at Bowser and Luigi on this list, but he's up there.
I mean, to be fair, like Kirby's got so many games in this era. Kirby even had a Puyo Puyo game. Like, you know, when you get that, hey, why is my Kirby not getting?
Because I don't want to have because we're only one Kirby gets a check mark. Because otherwise, I will start counting too many check marks.
Okay.
It's just how it has to work.
I see.
Wow. All right, we got our first lock, Kirby. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Now, where do we go next? Is honestly, I think every character here could be argued for and could be argued against.
We could end this with 3 of our third-party picks being in.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No. What did you say?
Oh wait, no, we can't do that because there's only one that we can per the rules.
Yeah, per the rules, only one third-party character can be added at this point. Now, we could choose not to add any of them if we wanted to, but per the rules, only one at maximum.
Mm-hmm. Where do we go from here, indeed?
Where do we go, indeed? Because the problem is, and I think, you know, I'm just going to say it at this point. A lot of these, some characters, See, here's my problem. Is, like I mentioned, I think there's an argument against every character and for every character. And part of me really wants to see the arguments against, but I also don't want to, like, start in on this with, like, a downer and just start, like, tearing characters down.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start by being self-effacing. Captain Falcon, you don't really see much of anything of him at this point in the series' releases, since it's just F-Zero.
Thank you.
So we don't really have much idea of what he would do aside from using our imagination.
That's one of the characters I was kind of thinking of. It's like, because Captain Falcon at this point, I think, like, we have art of him. We would have, like, art in the instruction books, but that's it. But also, I mean, by that same token, when Captain Falcon was added to Smash 64, that's all that existed either. The F-Zero Animate doesn't exist yet. And I don't think, and at that point, F-Zero X would have been the most recent game, which is where we're at now as well. So we could still have Captain Falcon, but Captain Falcon and Fox both are characters that I was just like, they haven't yet exited their vehicle, or I guess, you know, Falcon never ended up doing it. So I wasn't, so that's, well, both of them weren't on my list, which is like, I wasn't sure how to approach them for Super Nintendo. And it was a question of, like, do we need to wait until we can have 3D models for them in Smash 64? Can they work in a 2D pixely version of SNES? I don't know.
I think it's possible for these characters to work in a Super Nintendo fashion. I think the argument for them, as you say, against them rather, is that they haven't been out of their vehicles at this point and only have official artwork to show their full bodies. Though on that same token, it was the same ordeal in 64. I think the only further argument against Falcon at this point is the real world argument where Falcon was included in Smash 64 kind of as a basis of the Dragon King models.
Right.
So we can toss him in, but that's not happening in this world. Dragon King will never exist in this alternate universe we've developed. And the argument for Captain Falcon will continue. If he's not chosen here, I think it's going to continue on, not necessarily until he's chosen, but for at least the next few eras, while F-Zero is still a prevalent franchise, so through the GameCube at least.
Yeah.
So do we add him here? Adam later or not at all is a mystery, because it's so up in the air without Dragon King. Although F-Zero was a popular franchise at the time, it's the 16th best-selling SNES game out of all of them in
Is
contention.
it really?
It is.
I didn't know that. All right.
And it could be argued that the Blue Falcon's on the front of the box. Captain Falcon's the most prevalent character. So
Well, yeah, it'd be Captain Falcon or nobody.
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. F-Zero X doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, that's on the 64.
F-Zero X released. Oh, wait, it's on 64. Oh, I thought that was a Super Nintendo one.
Nope, Super Nintendo. It was the original F-Zero was Super Nintendo.
Oh shit. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I thought F-Zero X is Super Nintendo for some reason. Okay.
It's the best game in the franchise. That's controversial with people who are 30 plus years old.
Yeah.
The other one's like, what's F-Zero? Anyway, yeah, there's an argument for and against most of these characters here. I think the easiest thing at this point might be to maybe consider a couple of other archetypes here for ones that seem more like shoo-ins. I think at this point it's fair to say at least one thing Mario is getting in, or Mario adjacent. We have Diddy Kong, Bowser, Luigi, and Yoshi taking up collectively half of the overall roster pitchers that we have here.
Yep.
And then the argument becomes which one of those four is a fast track. I don't think it's Luigi because he's only on your list, Zantok. But there's an argument for Bowser, Diddy Kong, or Yoshi at this junction. Or it could be Luigi if you want to go that route and mention the why.
What I have here for those characters and a fifth one I'll bring up. Part of the reason I have Luigi on here because my final slot came down to Luigi, Fox, or Yoshi. Actually, that's where it all came down to me and I picked Luigi over the other two because one, as I mentioned with Fox, he hasn't edited the R-Wing yet. Will he work a Super Nintendo Smash, or do we need to wait for an N64 one where we have a little bit more freedom to do things? But then when it came to Yoshi, I didn't include Yoshi because right now, Yoshi's representation would be Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, which, don't get me wrong, I fucking love Yoshi's Island. That's one of the core games of my childhood, along with Mario World. But in those games, Yoshi is very, very horizontal, Whereas in, this is using future knowledge, which we try to shy away from for this project. But in Smash, Yoshi is very vertical. And so I was trying to imagine with horizontal Yoshi, imagining him running around in the Smash Brothers like platformer fighting game, him being able to run, attack enemies, hold items, because Yoshi arms, with the way he looks in World in Yoshi's Island, he ain't really holding on to shit. He'd only really be able to do like a normal 8 combo with his head. So that's why I didn't include Yoshi on my list. But then also Luigi, I ended up going on here because hey, look, it's the original clone. It's the original clone. You could put him over Mario real easy, give them a few subtle differences. Boom, easy slot. Characters on the list. That's not that we're not necessarily keeping things open for like intentional clone slots on here, but it was one of the factors that kept in mind for my list. Mm-hmm. Diddy Kong would be wholly unique. It is the next choice to include from the Donkey Kong franchise after Donkey Kong, and with Donkey Kong Country, there's easily enough that they can get pull from for him because I think the first 2 Donkey Kong Country released by this point. I don't think we have Dixie Kong's Double Trouble yet. If we do, it was close. But either way, that's 2 or 3 games worth of stuff for Diddy Kong to pull from. But then Bowser. Bowser is an amazing choice. He gives us another villain slot. He gives us another big character slot. He gives us some new things to do, such as a Fire Breath mood. No other character would have had that yet. But I think Bowser's main competition here isn't any of the Mario characters. It's Ganon. They are both the big character, the big villains to their heroes. And one of the questions I thought about with my list, and this is something I had prepared thinking about before, was if we ever had a debate about, well, can we have both Bowser and Ganon? Do we need to pick just one of them? I think if you have to pick just one of them, it's Ganon. And you have already said the reason why. Because we have so many other possible offerings from the Mario franchise. Whereas, who do we have to offer from the Legend of Zelda franchise? Just Ganon. Nobody else would work at this point in the timeline, at least to my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my spiel about all 5 of those characters.
And then there's just Diddy Kong. He's just like chilling.
I guess that was 6 characters. I also mentioned Fox, but yeah. Well, no, I mentioned Diddy Kong as well because no, Diddy Kong is a fucking solid choice. I think of the 4 Mario adjacent characters, he is the first choice because he has no other competition and he has nothing that would hold him back. Like I mentioned before, that every character I can make an argument for and an argument against. My argument against Diddy Kong is the weakest of all my arguments against.
Mm-hmm. Also consider talking about best-selling games on the Super Nintendo. Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 all fill out within the top 12. Donkey Kong Country 1 being the 3rd best-selling game of the SNES era.
Monkeys are
the 7th. Monkeys are what? Fresh?
Those games were really good. It's a goddamn shame it took so long for us to get another game of that style with returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some Nintendo pulls surprises sometimes, and sometimes it's unconducive.
Also, I just checked. We do not have Dixie Kong's Double Trouble at this point in the timeline.
Yeah, I think that would be the following year.
Yes.
Yeah, and Donkey Kong Country at the time was revolutionary as well. We made the argument during the NES episode, that Donkey Kong being included at the time, you're including a rampantly different Donkey Kong, and thank goodness we don't necessarily have to talk about that in the development of this episode. Like, Donkey Kong's so different now. Is he coming in his country form now? But in this game, Diddy Kong could be the de facto country rep, and Donkey Kong is still, he's your dad and mom's Donkey Kong from the arcade days.
I do think, while we're on that line of that hypothetical, I do think Donkey Kong, maybe not in this version, but definitely by Smash 64, he would be retrofitted into being the modern DK.
Probably so. Ooh, that gives me an idea, but we'll get there down the road.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
Let's say the argument over great apes isn't over.
Fuck.
I think Diddy Kong is probably a fast track at this point.
Turbo, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking monkeys are funny, and we should put Diddy Kong in.
This monkey's pretty smart too, just like you.
It's not part of the DK rap.
It's really not.
Not yet, anyway. Maybe in this world.
That's true. We don't know how the DK rap's actually going to turn out.
Yeah, your Diddy gets the green mark this time.
Yeah, oh boy, everybody.
That's word on Diddy Kong, so there you go.
All right, so should be no surprise considering that you were both on all 3 of our lists, but Kirby and Diddy Kong have made our roster of 16 in total, but 8 of Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here, though? Oh, there's a 3rd character on 3 of our lists. I completely forgot Marth was on all of our lists. He's right there in just like staring at me in the face in a fucking column. I forgot all about him. Wow.
I do think it's probably time to talk about Marth. I mean, he's the only other character that's splashed between our 3 lists. Unique opportunity at this point because he's a Nintendo's de facto strategy RPG of the time. Pretty popular in Japan, to the point where I think he would be in serious contention at this point. Not necessarily saying he's in yet, but the argument is there, and I mean it's a rock solid pick. Unlike the question of can we include Fox or Falcon because they haven't had their land sprites yet. Marth is one of those characters where you have clear battle animations plotted out in Fire Emblem. It would not be difficult to adapt his character at this point into Smash.
Makes sense to me.
Mhm.
One of the things we discussed in the previous episode was when it came to RPG characters that at the time, characters like Erdrick or Ninten, when they do their attacks, you just see a little splash image of some kind of graphic being like, oh, here's a couple fire in yellow pixels moving about to represent a fire spell. And that's all you had to see. You didn't get to see the characters ever do anything. But with the Fire Emblem games, I don't know what the original game did, but I did just look up Mystery of the Emblem just to see. They show the characters actually moving around on that battlefield, making their attacks with their swords, axes, what have you. So there are clear animations to pull from. So there's nothing holding Marth back in that respect, as far as I am aware.
Right, and he's an archetypal swordsman of more of a Western fencing flair compared to Blink and Takamaru. So this is still early Smash. This is still the opportunity where we're not having a deluge of swordsmen. So it's like, oh, it's fine from that angle too.
3 out of 16, that's no problem.
Yeah, precisely. So arguments against Marth. He's not in the West. I don't think at this junction it's really an argument.
Considering just how I don't think Nintendo would care at this point.
Yeah,
considering that they eventually put them in Melee when Sakurai considered not having them outside of Japan release of Smash Melee. I don't think that's a problem here, and this could be the vehicle to put Fire Emblem out in the West sooner.
What a glorious thing that is. Yeah, I think that's. I'm for him being in. Obviously,
I don't have any arguments against him. For him, the swords and sorcery genre was pretty big around the 70s and 80s, and with that kind of hanging over into the 90s, I feel like a lot of people all around the world would love the fact of a medieval swordsman in their game, and as a result, Marth would be for sure pick.
All right.
Yeah, it's not in Hawkins, Indiana. There we go. Well, we got the obvious shit out of the way, considering these are the 3 characters we agreed on.
Yep.
Out across our rosters.
Oh, did I accidentally?
Yeah. There we go. Now we're duping.
Okay. The rest of this is going to be a mess.
Yep. Now it's a crisscross affair. Because we got Luigi, who's just on my list, Bowser, who's on me and Jonno, Ganon, who's on me and Jonno, Yoshi, who is on Jonno and Turbotaxers, Fox, who's on Jonno and Turbotaxers, Cat's who's just on Turbo, Ness, who's on mine and Turbos, and then we have our 3 separate third parties.
Oh boy.
This is the mess. We have 3 characters picked. We can have 5 more. And we were debating between, let's see, how many picks do we have here? 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 not counting the third parties. So we have 9 characters to choose 5 of.
Yeah.
But here's the nice thing. That means 4 characters are being rejected. At least 2 of those rejections are third parties. So we only have to reject at most we have to reject 2 Nintendo characters at this point. And then the rest easily make it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
At this
at minimum,
point.
Not at most. Fuck.
Yeah. Is there anywhere that we want to go next? Does anyone have any leans?
Shall we tackle Ness?
I was thinking. He was thinking the same.
Pitch us, man. Pitch us.
Okay. So, of course, Nintendo's own RPG series, well, before Pokemon, released in a Dragon Quest style adventure. If I recall correctly, did all right in Japan, but not in America. And our
Neither did Dragon Quest, to be fair.
1990s every man or every kid, Ness, as the representative adventurer. I feel like for like people playing might feel like a self-insert, self-projection character, as was meant in Mother as well, that people could see themselves in Ness and therefore imagine themselves in Smash Brothers, and maybe as a result curate the whole spirit of Smash Bros that we are following today with this program and everything we do with it.
Yeah. I think so. The previous argument against Nintendo, which Ebit brought up actually first, was the NES was so limited in its space and its memory on what you could express. So being able to develop particle effects for PSI abilities was basically a non-starter during that era. The Super Nintendo era, I think this is not an issue anymore. We can more fully realize characters like Ness, or Terra, or whoever. RPG characters who were previously unfeasible for their magic or psychic capabilities are now on the table. There would need to be creative expression on behalf of who's developing Ness's character, just like in Smash. Period. Because Earthbound's battle system still begets that Dragon Quest style arcade-ish RPG setup where you are so many of the attacks are manifested without seeing the characters. But I think it's feasible. And Earthbound at the time, it was a respectably regarded game in the East. So again, like Fire Emblem, I don't think the preconceived notion of, oh, it's only popular overseas or it's a cult title. It's so early in Nintendo's history at this point, it doesn't really matter. So I think there's a contention to say Ness should be in, perhaps at least over Fox and Captain Falcon at this point.
So here's where I'm at with Ness. First of all, as you're mentioning, NES Smash, very difficult to imagine the attacks for both him and Ardrick, and that's why they didn't. That's why Nintendo and Ardrick didn't make the cut then. And I think you're right that for Super Nintendo, that's really not much of an issue anymore. I do think to a degree it could be problematic, but then you look at games like Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, and I'm sure countless others. I'm just less familiar with those games. But these games, you see effects, particle effects that are just so much more animated and descriptive of what they are than what we would have had on the NES. Good examples being the flames that fall down during the final boss fight in Super Mario World, or Kamek's geometric shape spell that he throws out to cause things to happen. Those attacks, especially Kamek's attack on the NES, I can't really imagine how that would look too well. But none of SNES, it's fine. So I think you easily could have Ness expressing attacks like that in a workable manner. Additionally, and I'm going to flash up the NES roster here just to make sure I'm correct here. I'm going to say I'm correct. But at this point, with our 8 NES characters and the characters that we have proceeded with so far, all of them are either physical characters or, while they might deal in projectiles, it's them firing out a projectile. Like Pit shoots out an arrow, Samus fires from her charge, from her arm cannon thing. What was somebody else that we have on here? Mario can throw a fireball, but Ness, he's essentially making things manifest in front of him. A fire just appears, lightning gets called down, or what have you. And you can either go that angle, or maybe on this version of Smash, Ness goes the stats effect route with buffs. because he's not much of an offensive unit in Earthbound, and maybe for Super Smash Brothers, they keep him more true to that, and he does things like offense up or whatnot. Either way, that is a completely new archetype for our Smash Bros. Game. So Ness brings a lot of new to the table, no matter what area they go with him.
Ness is like our first mage.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think he's a solid choice. He's a unique pick for this point, and there's not much against him. So, Trevor, I think your wildest dreams can come true.
Ness can be in Smash Bros.
Ness can be in Super Smash Bros.
Woo!
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a fair point. So these characters are mostly on an even playing field at this point, so why not throw a couple curveballs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At this point, I'm going to say we have a Mario adjacent character in with Diddy Kong. My argument here on is that Zelda is Nintendo's number 2 by a large mile at this point. And perhaps Ganon should be held in higher contention and consideration here on.
Yeah, I think Ganon is the next character, honestly.
I concur. There's bias because this is a character on our list, but not Trevor. So, Trevor, if you do have dissenting opinions, I mean, feel free to bring them up.
No, I mean, at this point, I would agree with you guys that Zelda needs representation, and who else is a better second pick for the Zelda series than Link's eternal opponent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that in Smash, in our world nowadays, we don't have any issues with Zelda representation.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And I just want to clarify earlier, because I made the whole point about Bowser versus Ganon. While we are saying right now Ganon in, that doesn't necessarily mean argue against Bowser either, because they both could still potentially be in. It's just that if I have to pick just one of them at this point in the timeline, I pick Ganon.
I agree.
All right. Well, if we're all in agreement, Ganon becomes our 5th character.
Yeah. Hey, I'm for it. It's on my list.
Wow.
All right. Throw some curveball, Drunk Man.
We've got 5. We got Diddy Kong, Kirby, Ganon, Ness, and Marth. We got 3 slots left. One of them could be a third-party pick, but we're gonna save that. We're gonna save that debate for the end.
Yeah, this is gonna get.
Yeah. So for now, we're picking at least 2 characters out of this group: Luigi, Bowser, Yoshi, Fox, and Captain Falcon. So that's 5 characters. 2 of them, at least 2 of them are going to make it.
Yes.
At least 2 of them are not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
My initial thought is to drop Captain Falcon. I don't think he stands up to the rest of the characters at this point. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think if you're going to pick a space captain, that it would be Fox over Captain Falcon, and adding to what the fact that he was only included because of the Dragon King prototype. He was the body model for, which I didn't know. Thank you for that, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That it makes a lot of sense that he would be the first one that we say sorry to this time around.
Yeah, he'll likely make it into another roster, if not, at the height of F-Zero X or GX's popularity. He could be one of those that becomes a retro pick later down the line.
Yeah.
Who knows? But for Super Nintendo, I don't think he's in.
All right.
Yeah, I will contend. I do think that he could work, but at this point, he's outclassed by other characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now is where it gets difficult.
Yep. Luigi, Bowser, Yoshi, Fox. 2 are in for sure. 1 is out for sure.
Yeah. And there's stern arguments against any of these characters, right? Luigi is a clone. We don't necessarily need to invite a clone this early on into Smash. Bowser, you have a large, sizable villain filling that archetype already with Ganon. Yoshi, your verticality argument may hold merit. Fox has not been seen out of the R-Wing at this point. So where do we make the argument next? I think, well, it's actually not even like I think. It's I know another Mario character has to be in at this point. And so it's the question of which. Bowser's still a rock solid choice. Luigi has an argument for him. Yoshi, I mean, it's still a really good choice. It's just he would be represented differently. He does throw eggs, but that's as far as his arms could really go. He would be he could utilize his feet, his tail, and his head still. So there's something workable there, but it wouldn't be the full extent of what we know he can do in Smash 64 on.
Well,
Which, then again, we shouldn't really be considering either.
let's also keep in mind that his morphing abilities in Yoshi's Island can be things that we haven't looked into before, or that the series hasn't used in our real life timeline that could be explored for this installment of Smash Bros.
That's
more from Yoshi than just what was used in our real life version.
Mm-hmm. Yoshi's Island also came out pretty close to the cutoff date, so it came out on August 5th, 1995. But I don't think that's a point against him. I think it may be a point in his direction, because the Super Nintendo era began with Yoshi, a heavy emphasis on Yoshi in Super Mario World dropping as a launch title in 1990.
That would be plenty of time for them to determine that Yoshi is popular.
Precisely, yeah. And then it's almost like a promotional character at that point. Like, oh shit, Yoshi's Island just came out. Let's toss him in there. Without committing a cardinal sin of having the game come out, having Yoshi's Island out after Smash releases, unlike Corin and Roy and another character in Smash. I forget who. Bayonetta? No.
There's a few. Byleth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mostly Fire Emblem characters. Greninja, I think.
Yeah, Greninja. Incineroar.
God. Yeah, the Cash Cow franchise. No surprise there. That being said, I also think the argument for Fox still stands at this point. Star Fox represents, and first of all, it's massively popular at this point. People are all about their space stories in the 90s. And it's massively popular because it's exploiting a development kit that Nintendo has shoved down everyone's throats at this point. It's in all the gaming magazines. People are talking about the dev kit internally. Like, it's this massive thing. It's arguably their first foray into 3D, just not the full 9 yards with the 64. Mode 7. So do they want their flagship Mode 7 character to be represented? I think there's the argument there. I think they can make the moveset work, whether it's Fox Illusion, Firefox, or Blaster, or what have you. I think the only thing that he has for sure is the Blaster. They'll have to be inventive and see where that goes in this era. But there's still an argument there for him, too.
Can I check something for a second?
Sure. What are you checking?
I thought it was a different graphic thing that came with the that came with Star Fox Super Nintendo. I thought 7 was already present and being used for most of the other games for the scrolling in the background, not for the 3D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was the Super Effects chip with
Yeah, that's what. Okay. And I don't know if anything else really used the Super Effects chip, if anything did.
Star
But-
Fox 2. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that would start with Fox's moves is, Blaster is really easy. You can just model it off of, how the R-Wings do blasters. The Reflector is pretty much what the Barrel Roll does. So they just pull from that. Firefox is... I mean, Firefox and Fox Solution are more inventive, but you could also just pull them from... You could say that they're, again, representative of him using the R-Wing in different ways.
Mhm.
So those moves, while they're inventive, they're pretty much Fox using R-Wing techniques, all in his special moves.
True.
Yoshi, my big problem with Yoshi, I have a bigger problem just visualizing him attacking with his Super Nintendo appearance and being able to do the kind of animations that Smash would require. Fox, so long as they create a design for him, period, they've got stuff for him.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, so I mean, we just made arguments for and against all these characters. We're still kind of at that standstill with these final four. I would say Turbotaxer. Are there any characters at this junction that you would put? Who of these four first parties remaining would you put your vote of confidence in next?
I'm sorry, listener, but I'm really inclining towards Yoshi. I just think Yoshi was a symbol of the Super Nintendo era, and as a symbol, would way more likely than not be included in the
Mhm.
roster.
Fair enough. I mean, I agree from the iconography standpoint that this is the most significant pick that they could make from that standpoint at this point. How they would make it? Do you find that what would be a workaround in your opinion against Lister's argument regarding Yoshi's abilities in Yoshi's Island versus his abilities in Yoshi's Story, I suppose. Although I think part of
Yoshi's
it
Story
with
that doesn't
yeah.
exist yet.
Oh, I know. That was still the argument, though. It's like, oh, Yoshi is adopting his Yoshi Story more horizontal movement in Smash 64.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And I think Trevor did express part of it, though, is that his special moves could employ the morphing abilities, which, I mean, yeah, true enough. They easily could.
I mean, you've also got the melon abilities to work with from Yoshi's Island.
Mm-hmm.
Specials aren't really my concern with Yoshi because you've got melons, but you've got licking and creating eggs. You've got throwing eggs. The transformations, I'll skip over that for now because I'm unsure with that. My issues are more with normal attacks.
Right.
There's
What was that?
egg throws could be made into a regular attack or a facet of a regular attack with slight range.
Yeah, Yoshi rolls an egg, for or throws an egg. I mean, yeah, it's true. Some of his abilities could be the same, like a dash attack, a side attack could be very similar. Where does Yoshi primarily uses his fist in his standard A combo, I think, is where things are the most. So if you can make a different combo move, which I think you could, I mean a kick or a tail whip could initiate it and then maybe finish it off with a headbutt or something.
I mean, we don't necessarily need to work that. Mario at this point doesn't have any punches in his set yet. He's in from the NES era and doesn't get any punches and kicks up until Super Mario 64.
No, but it's a lot easier. I mean, you can easily say, okay, a human shaped person can punch and kick. Like there doesn't need to be. You don't have to see them be able to do it to know that a human can do that.
I just don't think there's any reason why not to think that Yoshi can't do those things. I mean, Yoshi's already able to do ground pounds, flutter jumps, just carry Baby Mario all the way across the world, survive death.
Mm-hmm.
I think a punch and a kick or tail combo would not be all of that far fetched for Yoshi.
I think it's at least arguable. Like they could. I mean, you know, if there's a will, there's a way, right? I see Zantok's argument, but I also see Trevor's. Which I will sidebar here and say, I think Fox should be in. I think for the arguments that we had, super effects. Oh, it's just an adaptation of the R-Wing, so it's not that hard to come up with a move set. I think, you know, part of the assumption with Yoshi at this point being vertically challenged, or rather horizontally challenged, they can adapt the sprite. I think at this point the NES era, I think that you're working with a lot of the same sprites just ripped from the games, right? Because it's almost primitive in the way that it's developed. Compared to now, Super Nintendo, I do think this is the era where, okay, pretty much everybody's coming in here with their custom built sprite set because the Super Nintendo is such a buff over the NES dev kit.
Mm.
So if they need to rework Yoshi and there's an argument for Yoshi by other merits, they would probably. You know, by that same measure, I would still say that I have my hangups about DK and the NES Smash because he's so big. Not to bring up old wounds, but I think the further on you go and into this timeline with new eras, it becomes less of an, not that it's less of an argument, but becomes easier to dismantle, I suppose. Not that this is getting us any closer to the final answer, because I think Lister's going to feel what he's going to feel, and Trevor's going to feel what he's going to feel. So it almost feels like the burden has landed on my shoulders to come up with a decision here.
Honestly, I feel like what we should do is maybe pit Luigi versus Yoshi here and discuss the merits of one over the other. Because, like...
Well, I'll fully say Luigi is the weakest character on my list. I fully know that. Like that's easy pickings.
But
he is there to be, you know, he's a very easy choice for a Mario pick. You know, you got your player 2. He's an easy clone. But by the same tokens, he's also an easy one to not include.
I mean, you've got Mario is missing, Luigi starring in his own game, even if it's educational. You bring up as well. So you could make the argument that Luigi's has represented the Super Nintendo era, and Nintendo making Luigi have his own characteristics. If you're looking past Super Mario Bros. 2 US.
Man, if Luigi represented Mario is missing, his home stage could be like India. London. Sure. Like, oh my god.
It's like I assume we were going to enter this part of the conversation with saying Luigi is the next one out. That's where I thought we were going to go.
Hey, Mario's missing. That's where the Ouija sprite came from. So, I mean, we can have the Ouija sprite. That could be Luigi's base model in this game.
Get out of here with your cursed bullshit.
Man, oh man. I think, yeah, Luigi, Bowser, and Yoshi. 2 or 1 can make it in. Zantok's already kind of wound up the argument against Bowser, so, you know, saying that. Only insofar as Ganon and him fill a similar space.
I mean, Bowser would have been my next one to include.
And that, yeah, I mean, there's still an argument there. I think the argument that Turbo made for Yoshi is so strong. At this point, I would be like, yeah, I would vote for Yoshi, too.
I mean, I have my reservations, but
Mhm.
but this is a collaborative thing, and you both
Right.
feel strongly about Yoshi, and we've seen Smash take liberties with characters before. They could take liberties with Yoshi.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
At the very least, I think we can all agree liberties can certainly be taken. Like it's not impossible at the very least.
Yeah. All right. So, does this make Yoshi character number 6?
Trevor.
I would argue in favor of.
Okay.
Argue in favor of.
Total.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Yoshi's number 6.
Yoshi's in for what?
I said Yoshi's number 6.
Oh. Oh. Okay, good.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Can eat a lot.
All right. For now, we have one Nintendo slot remaining. We might have 2. We'll get there. But for
Mhm.
now, character number 7 will be either Luigi, Bowser, or Fox.
Man. So you said Bowser is your argument.
Yeah, Bowser's my argument over Luigi. Luigi, clone.
Mhm.
We're not necessarily like Smash proper might go Luigi because hey, let's just have a clone thing in here. But we're not necessarily holding doors open for clones. We can have them, but we're not like specifically keeping a clone slot for anything.
Right.
And Bowser would bring more unique things to the table. Yes, he'd be another big villain, but personally, I say who the fuck cares about that in all honesty? I think he's a fucking icon. It'd be one thing if it was King Hippo. Then yeah, sure. You don't include King Hippo. But Bowser, iconic as fuck. And Fire Breath.
He is King Koopa. He is extremely prevalent in this era and all eras.
It's like between Luigi and Bowser, I think Luigi's out and it's Bowser, and then it just becomes a debate between Bowser or Fox.
Right, with either one of them still being on the table potentially if we don't go for a third party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we should act with the knowledge that whichever one we don't choose may not make it.
Right. I could go either way with those 2 characters. I agree Luigi's out. I think Turtle probably does as well.
Or Luigi, but yeah.
He gets for not eating enough spaghetti.
It's not yet the year of Luigi.
Even
Boy, that was such a disappointing marketing campaign.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's gonna be the year of Luigi. Okay, cool. How many Luigi things are we getting? Dream
2?
Team? Cool.
New Super Luigi U?
Oh yeah, that was one of them too. It's like, really? That's it? We don't even get in Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah, for some reason I thought Luigi's Mansion 3 came out then, but I remember that was later.
Much.
Was
Which
Dark
is-
Moon not released around that time?
I don't. I'd have to look.
I thought it was before, but
I thought Dark Moon was before Year of Luigi. No, yeah, it was Dark Moon, Dream Team, New Super Luigi U, Luigi Brothers being in Super Mario 3D, or whatever the fuck that is, Dr. Luigi, and then Super Luigi Brothers being part of the NES remix games. That's what we got for the Year of Luigi. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So
Dark
we got
Moon-
2 games and then skins of games.
Yeah.
yeah,
Poor Luigi.
Dream Team was meh.
better.
Dark Moon was okay. It was pretty good for the
Dream
time.
Team was okay except for the gyro control bullshit.
Mm-mm.
I couldn't beat
Sad.
the final boss because the gyro controls weren't working.
Oof, that's sadly one of the only ones in that series that I haven't played.
You played Paper Jam?
I played Paper Jam, yeah.
Oh, I skipped it. It's like, sorry, Sticker Star soured me. I ain't falling for your tricks.
I'm kind of a sucker. If it's got Paper Mario, I'm gonna buy it.
Did you like Origami King?
Origami King, yeah.
Okay.
I still need to beat it. I got very close to the end, and then I got distracted by Zelda.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think you said too, the battle system is admittedly a little long-winded.
Yeah, it's a puzzle thing, and they do some cute things with it there, but like there's not really too much expansion on it to really serve as its own
Yeah.
whole unique thing. But anyway, this isn't the platform to discuss that right now.
Could be.
I mean, we go off topic often enough.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the topic, I guess, at hand is, currently speaking, not that the other one is condemned at this point, and for sure not getting in, but Bowser versus Fox at this junction, Turbotaxer. Bobboy Man, if you will.
Bowser versus Fox.
Yeah. Difficult.
Yeah,
Difficult.
it's painful. It's like pulling teeth. Fox is new, Fox's things, but Bowser is Mario's rival. That's Mario, well, 1985. But shoot, everything said, and just thinking about the characters, I think Bowser might get it over Fox.
Interesting.
Okay. There's still an argument for Fox.
Yeah.
I've mostly made the argument already. I'm not going to retread old ground. But at this point, I will also go for Bowser. And that's because the character is such, at this point already, is so significant in the lexicon of Nintendo and gaming in general. It's absurd to consider Fox over him. So I will go with Bowser as well.
I think the only reason to not include Bowser is if people are worried about too much Mario. That is the biggest argument against Bowser at this point, I believe.
Yeah, and we do have 3 Mario characters, essentially. But it just doesn't matter. I mean, kind of like Smash in general has proven, the precedent will go to Mario. I mean, and that's mostly fair, besides Piranha Plant.
I mean, I don't really consider Yoshi and Diddy Kong as part of Mario. Maybe at this point in the timeline, Yoshi still would be. But Yoshi has become his own thing. Like, yeah, he's still in the Mario games. But Yoshi represents the Yoshi games in Smash.
Mhm.
Diddy is definitely not a Mario character. Donkey Kong the franchise is adjacent to Mario. But I wouldn't consider Diddy Kong like half of a Mario rep or anything. Yoshi, sure. It's like half a Mario rep. But Diddy Kong, definitely not.
Right. They're all still Mario adjacent, though. But from the dev standpoint, yeah, that's true.
Also, at this point, the internet isn't really crazy, so people can't bitch about it yet.
Yeah, true.
I'm just saying.
The internet is a green screen and a noise at this point that you cannot use if you're on the phone.
The internet is 2 goats screaming at each other.
Now it's an infinite number of goats screaming at each other.
Yeah.
So much better.
Each goat trying to be louder than the next goat.
Yep.
Disclaimer, I don't know what goats sound like. It's something-ish.
They can really scream. I'm not going to get Yeah, but yes, like that. Basically, yes.
Except I'm not going to go louder than that because I don't want to break people's ears who are using earplugs. Or not earplugs. Whatever those bullshit things are called that you stick in your ear.
Oh, the pods, no?
Yeah, earpods and whatnot. Yeah, that shit. I don't like those things. They hurt.
Yeah, I feel that.
Not all ears are created equally.
Yeah, remind me to boot up Steam later and play some Trevor Simulator.
Jesus. All right. It sounds like though, and let's just do a quick Smash or Dash style vote here. It sounds like we have our pick between Bowser and Fox. Not to say that the other won't make it, but if only one will make it, it sounds like. Jonno, your vote.
Bowser.
Turbo, your vote.
Bowser.
And then my vote, Bowser. Bowser's in.
Smash, 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 smash. I love you. Oh.
Beautiful. It's all Black. We're here with us.
If he would be the day.
Anyway.
It's actually the next episode.
We have 7. Don't give me ideas. We have 7 characters left. Wait, no. We have 7 characters picked. We have 4 characters left. 1 slot remaining. Fox is our last Nintendo character standing. But now is we need to pivot and start talking about these third parties. Because at the very least, we need to narrow in the third parties with just one option. And then it becomes that third party versus Fox. So,
yeah.
We got Tara Branford from Final Fantasy VI, Mega Man from Mega Man, and X from Mega Man X. Now, what I find most interesting here is we have Mega Man and X, which are borderline the same character. Don't kill me, Mega Man fans. I know it's not technically true. Just roll with me here. And I considered both of these characters very heavily. I just ended up going with Tara because, well, Final Fantasy, 6 games, strong relationship with Nintendo. She's got a sword, but she's also very heavy into magic. She basically is the stereotypical fantasy character who brings magic back to the land.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally her plot.
Yeah.
Well, close enough. Whereas the Mega Men are the super fighting robots. One of them is just a normal robot who fights other robots and then he takes their powers. And then X is some hundreds of years into the future. Still the creation of Dr. Light. But he's fighting... God, Twilix is really the knowledge shell here for me. And I don't want to get my terms wrong. But he's fighting against robots that have basically gone rogue, such been infected with the stigma virus, and he's putting them now. But the interesting thing about X is he's actually a pacifist. He doesn't like fighting, and yet he's real fucking good at it. But beyond that, his power set is very similar to Mega Man. It's more or less just an upgrade over it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. With again, still moves that you take from the Reploids and the Maverick Wars, I think.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Yeah, and then he also has some other techniques that I don't believe are straight up stolen. I might be wrong on that. I know Zero has his own sword techniques, I think. But again, Twilix is the Mega Man X expert in the family, and he's not home.
It's gotta work that shift, get that cashola.
Man, he should be almost done sometime soon, though.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It always is difficult in these last few choices here. I will simply make my pitch for Mega Man at this point. Why I chose him. Capcom is one of several companies that Nintendo's keeping a very tight relationship at this point in time. The 80s and 90s were very kind to the collaboration between Capcom and Nintendo, as they were for Square and Enix and Nintendo, Konami and Nintendo, henceforth why Simon was included in the previous roster ultimately. And will be joining us with all the other NES choice characters here. Mega Man and X stand on nearly even footing here. As you said, X is basically the beefier version of Mega Man. Later on becomes the iconographic Super Nintendo Mega Man period. I mean, there were like what 7 X games?
Uh, yeah. There's 7 Mega Man X games. Not all of them exist at this point in the timeline, but there were 7 X. I think it's a fairly safe statement to make that the Mega Man X sub-series is the most popular sub-series of all of Mega Man.
Yeah,
At least that's
would
what I
say
tend
so.
to see people say.
And which Mega Man X was the most popular? Would you say was it X2?
I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know that. I know the later one. Some of the later ones were not as fond of, similarly to the later classic Mega Man games. So when they go 3D, that's when the Mega Man games kind of fell.
right. So with Legends and stuff.
Yeah. Also, I
Mm,
just checked. At this point in the timeline, there will be 3 Mega Man X games. However, Mega Man X3 released in December 1995. So right before this Smash game would have finished its planning.
right, right. And Mega Man also appears in several Super Nintendo games. First of all, at this point, there's 7 mainline standard Mega Man games out.
Yeah.
There's Mega Man and Bass, and there's Mega Man Soccer, actually a classic, pretty good game. It's a
But
pretty
Mega Man Base, you could also argue, is a mainline Mega Man game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So 8 mainline Mega Man games at this point. Not to say that sheer quantity argues for Mega Man in every favor, because X is.
Actually, Mega Man Base was in '98, sir.
Oh, was it? Oh, well.
Yeah, it's on the Game Boy Advance. I just looked.
Oh, still 7. Still 7. Yeah, yeah. So and I would imagine. I mean, Mega Man 2 was still hugely popular at the time too. That's kind of the precipice for the series. I think its moveset would still largely be similar to what we got in Ultimate,
Most likely.
just simplified.
And unlike when we discussed him in the NES episode, Rush Coil exists now.
Yeah, and Rush is a popular character, so that would probably be the up special. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's a rock solid pick. You know, Rock Man. Yeah. So we heard a little about Terra and Mega Man. How about X, Trevor?
Well, I feel like you did most of the argument for it. Really, you can't uncouple Mega Man and X. With 3 different games in the series by the point that we have set, it's obvious that the series was popular and doing well as the sort of Mega Man franchise for the Super Nintendo era. Of course, Mega Man X is very representative of that continuing of relations with Capcom. One could argue that maybe Street Fighter representative might have worked better, but for all intents and purposes, 3 different games released back to back is a testament to the quality and the nature of the game series and their relationship with Nintendo. I kind of think that if the capabilities for this in the Super Nintendo era are possible, we could just make X the skin for Mega Man.
They very different proportions. Very different.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess that would require drastic
modifications. Yeah.
Even if you use the altered Mega Man design in the later classic games, where they made him be less of a little stubster, him and X different proportions. They would not be costumes of each other. They keep like one of them could have like a costume. I don't. No, they wouldn't have costumes. Either of their costumes would be a red color variant for Proto Man and Zero.
Mega Man 7's Mega Man?
Yeah, I don't think they have the same proportions.
Okay.
But ultimately, too, they function rather similar to each other on the baseline. But there's also so many different techniques they can get from the bosses they beat. You mentioned Street Fighter, and Street Fighter was so huge at this time. I think like the fourth or fifth best-selling Super Nintendo game. But I think that the argument against Ryu or Chun-Li at this point is like you can't really get them to function how the devs might want them to function at this point in Smash.
Plus, look at how long it took Sakurai to even add in a real fighting game character to Smash.
Right. And I know we're not supposed to take future knowledge into consideration, but I think at this point it would be a real ask why include Ryu in Super Nintendo Smash if they can play as Ryu in a much fuller form in Street Fighter in the same console. Funnily enough, 2X also can do Hadouken and Shoryuken, so I mean, if you wanted to go that route, you could. And actually, that's an argument for X. I think that would be a pretty fun.
I mean, let's be real. Mario Super Jump Punch is a Shoryuken.
Yeah,
true.
Mario is a Shoto.
I mean, yeah.
So those are the Mega Man, and that's going to be an interesting discussion. But Terra, I mean, she's the outlier here, but she's Final Fantasy VI. Such a tremendous game at the time as well.
Yep. It was very popular then. It's still very popular. The Woolsey translation, infamous as it is, some fans completely love it, and they don't like that Square Enix has retranslated parts of the game to better match the original. Some people are glad that it happened, but Terra is the first female main character protagonist in the Final Fantasy series. We had two games where the main character was a created character with Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 3, but the West didn't even get those games. Well, no, the West got Final Fantasy 1. The West did not get Final Fantasy 3. They got Final Fantasy 6, which they called 3, which some people still think is actually 3, and they're just... but then Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 5, they didn't make it to the West, but they both had male leads in Furion and Bartz. But then Final Fantasy 4, Cecil, who would have been the next character I would have considered after Terra to represent Final Fantasy at this point in the timeline, with this whole Dark Knight Paladin storyline that he has going on in fighting back against his original country, which has kind of gotten fucked. Gotten fucked up with the king deciding to go out into war, and Cecil just being like, but now wait a minute. Why we kill innocent people? And the king's just like, do it or I'll kill you.
Imagine if they did it, if someone had that cognizance today.
Yeah. But then, additionally, again, ignoring the created characters, I guess up to this point, Final Fantasy has been each character, for most of the games, each character can do pretty much anything. You can choose your class in Final Fantasy 1 and in Final Fantasy 3. In 2, anybody can use any weapon or learn any spell. It's just how often they use it will determine how good those things are for them. Final Fantasy 4, people have explicit roles. Again, Dark Knight, Paladin, Cecil, Black Mage, White Mage, Palom, and Porum, and then again, White Mage, Rosa, Dragoon, Kain, and whatnot. But then Final Fantasy 5 is the job class system where anybody can be any job. Final Fantasy 6, people are back to having specific roles, but Terra is our first female lead, and she's also primarily magic focused. She has a sword, yes, but her magic stat is I don't know if it's necessarily her best stat, but it is very high, and she is one of only 2 characters in the roster who can naturally learn magic spells upon level up, because in this world, the magic is gone, or it was gone. It left the world when the Eidolons closed off the world, the Espers, sorry. Different games call them different things. The Espers in Final Fantasy 6. But magic started coming back when, the Empire pulled an empire, and they found Terra, and they enslaved her to work for them. And they were able to basically reverse engineer magic from her, which is a terrifying thought, and started gifting it to other characters so that they could use magic, such as cells. But Terra, she naturally learns several spells as she levels up. Her main damaging spell being the Fire series, Fire, Fyra, Fyraga. But she learns other spells that they could use, like the Cure series, Drain, Teleport, Dispel, Holy, Graviga, Meltdown, Ultima. All of those she learns. But Final Fantasy VI is also the first Final Fantasy to include a limit break like system. At the time, they called it Desperation Attacks. And hers is Riot Blade, where she basically swings her sword and creates a bunch of magical blades that fly out and do magic damage to the enemy that they hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting play form that at this point I think could be fairly easily realized in the scope of Smash. We're not seeing the same issues that we did with the argument against Erdrick in the NES era.
Right.
So what we are seeing here, and I do think, between Terra and Cecil, this is the choice to make. It's just like 3 third parties, all with their individual merits. 2 of them being the same little realm, essentially. It's where they're different iterations of each other. So where do we go from here? Where each person's brought a legitimate choice to the table. I don't know if the easiest option would be to argue against one at this point, or just argue for one.
I think the easiest point to start with is Mega Man versus X.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are the most similar between them.
I think that the choice between the 2 Mega Mans, now that we've had that drawn-out conversation, they're fairly evenly matched, but X is the new hotness. From the marketing perspective, I think that's who Capcom would push. I think X might be the choice between those 2.
I tend to agree.
No, go on.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Oh no, it sounds like you had more.
No, I can't think of anything more right now. I'm just thinking of how good character Terra is, to be honest.
Oh, she's a great character. I wish I had been able to finish 6 last time I tried to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I got caught up in trying to do super boss before I fought the final boss, and I got discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I had the hotness, and I didn't.
Kefka is an amazing villain too. Like, what a great character.
I love his eccentricities. That's why I really like the original translation, because Kefka is just a legit crazy person. It's like the lines that they gave him are just like, what is wrong with you, sir? It's so good. And I'm glad that when they did really translate it, they did keep a lot of that element to him, because he's just a maniac.
Yeah, he is.
But between them 2 Mega Mans, getting to that point first, they're both extremely similar, both in design, in what they can do, what they bring to the table. They're more or less the same thing. It just comes down to, do you want the character that has more legacy, with classic Mega Man having 7 main games out at this point, and a few spin-offs and retellings and whatnot, or do you go with Mega Man X, who only has 3 games, but he is the new hotness, the character that Capcom is going... Like, Mega Man isn't completely dead yet, but X is where most of the focus is going to be going for Capcom the next few years, which is future knowledge for us, but also that's Capcom future knowledge. Capcom is going to know that when they're talking to Sakurai about characters being added to Smash. So they're like, hey, we're planning to do a lot more with this version, so we'd like to see him in. So I think that's where the 2 arguments come in for both of them. And my lean towards that is X. And I say that not only because of the Capcom future knowledge, but because, unless I'm mistaken, I believe the X games were very well received right off the bat. If they were kind of mixed reviews, then I would pivot back to classic Mega Man. But considering that they were very well received, they had more of an emphasis on who characters are, not just characters existing, which is a problem for a lot of older video games where your story is in the instruction booklet and that's all the story that you get. But the X games actually have characters talk and there's a plot that they're dealing with. You have Zero, you have Sigma, uh, all these other characters that actually exist as characters,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I would lean X over classic Mega Man.
Right. I mean, the empirical knowledge, much later makes Mega Man the prime choice for real Smash.
Yeah,
But in this world where we're considering it far earlier, I do think it's X. So Mega Man's out.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, now it is Mega Man X versus Terra.
Oh God. This is more difficult.
It is. We have two vastly different characters at this point. One who is going to be a primarily magic focused character. She's got some physical capabilities with her, with Terra. Versus Mega Man X, who is going to be very projectile heavy. Not necessarily in a magic way, but in firing projectiles kind of way. While still also having some, some physical capabilities. He can still bash you over the head with that, with his Buster. That's some blunt force trauma waiting to happen.
Right. Samus does the same, so why
It's
not?
true.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah, X is building a legacy at this point. Capcom has a serious relationship with Nintendo. Final Fantasy has had that legacy. It kind of dug up JRPGs from the ground when it first came out, and built a legacy comparable to Dragon Quest immediately. They became such rivals with Enix right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo original friends. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like I covered it briefly when we did our NES episode, but people thought Sakaguchi, the founder of Final Fantasy, was crazy for intentionally wanting to go up against Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest One it started off mid lane in Japan, but after a bit of a marketing push, it took off, and then Dragon Quest Two took off as well in Japan. In the West, Dragon Quest did not do as well, but then Final Fantasy comes out and it does just as good in Japan. But then in America, it fucking murdered Dragon Quest in America.
Right.
And while, again, not all the Final Fantasies made it to America, 2 and 5 didn't make the cut. 4 and 6 did very well as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know at what point Dragon Quest started making a turnaround in America, but Final Fantasy was a hit from the start.
Dragon
Why,
Quest.
I couldn't tell you.
I'm in the sun until like 8 in the West.
I knew about it with, well, not counting just the main series. I learned about it with 7.
Right. Terra has so many skills she can use as kind of the progenitor of the new Magic era. There's Blizzard and Fire and Flood and Thunder and Holy and just freaking everything you can do with her.
Yeah. While she has certain spells that she learns via level up, with the Magicite system, every character can learn every spell.
Right.
So, it's just she has certain ones that she's more synonymous with.
Right. And then Mega Man X. I mean, again, you have 3 games, 8 different Mavericks that you're taking abilities from across those 3 games. So he has 24 canon special move options, Hadouken and Shoryuken, his Mega Buster. There's a ton of shit that he has at his disposal as well. These characters are evenly matched. I think that X was so well received, it doesn't necessarily validate that Final Fantasy VI was the 12th best-selling Super Nintendo game. At this point, I think the characters are evenly matched regardless. And it comes down to a choice of taste. Nintendo were huge fans and friends of Square at the time, and the same can be said of Capcom. And we have characters that fill a fantasy archetype already with Link Marth, Takamaru. We have characters that fill a sci-fi archetype already. Samus, arguably to a degree Ness. So it's
Mm,
kind of a
I
wash.
I mm, I put Ness in the weird category, but all right.
So there we go. It's just who do you want?
Turbo, what are you thinking here with these two?
See, I got a bias. I mean, I love the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy VI is one of my favorites out of them all. Um, Seeing Tara Bradford on this immediately made me very happy that you included her. Um, I didn't because I expected that you would. Um, but so like personal biases going, like Tara is who I would pick on a heartbeat. But also like I want to do X justice and try to advocate for him since like got three games that you've had released within this 5-year span.
Yeah. I think. Hmm. I like both these options. I actually just last year, or in recent years, because I don't know the date when this is being uploaded at the time, I made a Smash move set for Terra. It's on the Smashtopia wiki. I know she can easily be done. And Mega Man X and honestly all the different iterations of Mega Man can all easily be done. Just look at my 80 special move character I made for Mega Man.exe. It was a lot of hard work.
Sounds like
Yeah, it was a lot of pain. Uh, I think a big argument that we haven't considered here, and I think that we should, between these two characters, is lasting legacy. And what I mean by that is characters that are going to be remembered and utilized in the future. Because at this point with Smash, especially when it comes to third parties, maybe they don't want to pick a character who is going to be a one and done. Maybe they want to pick a character who is going to have a lasting series behind them. Because while Final Fantasy the series has had hit after hit after hit after hit, and our future knowledge knows that it's going to continue having those hits, Terra is not going to be moving forward the franchise. There's going to be each Final Fantasy has a different main lead. She's not going to be the main character in Final Fantasy 7 or 8 or 9. Mega Man X, however, will be the main character of Mega Man X4 and X5 and X6. He has some friends along the way, but it's still X at the center of the pack. Meanwhile, Terra, she succeeded one character and she will be succeeded again. And while she is my pick, I think that is a very strong argument against her.
mm,
Funnily enough, we're just one game away from the character who will be the face of Final Fantasy.
Which is why I think it's funny that she's being debated here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is theoretically her only chance, but this is also theoretically X's only chance. Because after this point, by the time you get to N64 or whoever, maybe classic Mega Man is back the one in the forefront. Who knows?
And at that point, there's just so many other third parties on the table too, from other companies and within Capcom as well. Oh my gosh.
oof.
Yeah, it's hard. Terra's a great character with a lot of move options, and the problem is the same can be said about X, and they're also from two totally different games.
Yep.
Man, oh man.
Where I stand is I personally think Terra is a much cooler character than Cloud. She got robbed by not being the face of Final Fantasy.
I mean, some people say that 6 is... There's still debate over whether or not 6 or 7 is the best game. But I think part of that argument comes from Kefka. When I see things, I see people compare Kefka and Sephiroth the most, and it's debate of who's the better villain. And I mean, one succeeded, one didn't. How many Final Fantasy villains actually legitimately succeed in their plans? Well, actually, there's more than I was just thinking. Garland, the
Garland.
Emperor,
Yeah.
Kefka, Ultimacia. That might be it. I don't know about 13 and beyond. Well, I know about 14, obviously. But 13, 15, 16, I don't know the answer for them. But not too many. Kefka's one of the few that actually followed through and did the job.
Square. Yeah. Yeah. My heart says Terra and my brain says X is kind of where we're at this point.
Kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I think, well, Terra would be a really cool choice. I feel like Mega Man X is the logical pick here. And I'll extend that thought to say that I think he's also a logical pick over Fox.
Interesting.
I don't think Fox stands up to either Terra or X. I think he's out.
I would agree.
Jonno?
What? Oh yeah. Sure. Why not at this point?
We're saying Fox is dead.
I have a dissenting opinion, but I am in the minority. Let's just do it.
Do you want to present your opinion first?
Only that Fox is such a major hitter in Nintendo's cabinet at this point. I could see them looping back around and wanting to promote him over a third-party choice. The argument for a third party: it's additional marketing with another franchisee, and it would be kind of weird for Simon to be the only one.
It would be very weird.
Yeah. So okay, let's nix Fox and go for whomever.
All right. Terra or X. It sounds like, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but it sounds like while we all think Terra would be amazing, we're all also thinking X is slightly nudging her out. It's like a 51 to 49% kind of deal. Would that be accurate?
It's so painful. Yeah.
Jonno?
You can still make some arguments, Trevor. I mean, Final Fantasy VI, pulling up that wiki page again, the 13th best-selling game on the Super Nintendo versus the 46th best-selling game on the Super Nintendo. Although, okay, so if I guess Turbo's locked in his vote for X, I will lock in my vote for Terra.
You son of a bitch.
Just want to make it interesting.
All right, well, since you're going to do it to me like that, I am going to go for X in this scenario. I think Terra would be great, but if I'm looking at things like on almost all accounts, these characters are very much on equal pedestals, and we had a similar thing when we did the NES roster between Simon Belmont and Classic Mega Man, where Erdrick was the outlier in this case, and the two of them were on very similar pedestals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this time around, I give it to X. Not really because he's more deserving. I'm looking at a marketing perspective. I brought it up earlier. Terra is going to be a shining jewel in Final Fantasy's history. but she's not going to continue. She won't be seen again in the series until Dissidia. Not counting the PlayStation ports, where they have weird CGI cutscenes and she's blonde with where the hair doesn't look very good, where a lot of the cutscene doesn't look very good.
Mm-hmm.
But game-wise, she doesn't appear again until Dissidia Final Fantasy, which is years later. And there's no way Square is thinking about that game. But
Yeah.
Mega Man X, they know they're going to pump out more Mega Man X games.
They're pumping.
They're building that legacy for X.
Mm-hmm.
I think X.
Okay, you were the tie-breaking vote, so X it is.
X it is. Tara, maybe you'll get your chance another day. Personally, I think this was the end of your journey. But hey, if you really want to see how Tara can work in Smash, go check out her page on the Smashtopia Wiki, because I put in work on that.
Hey, Trevor's third party was chosen.
It was. All right. With that, we have our 8 characters who are going to be joining the NES roster. So I'll just flash that back up on the screen just so we can see it. Wow, the graphics make that kind of fun to look at. But joining our original cast of 8, Bowser, Diddy Kong, Yoshi, Ganon, Kirby, Ness, Marth, and X. I think that's a great group. I think it's a real great group.
Solid group.
Really, any of the characters that we picked here would have been a solid roster of 8.
I agree.
Unless we left out Kirby, then it would have been absolute dog shit. But
Well, already left out Junkman, so what can you do?
he'll go back to the junkyard where he belongs.
Maybe he'll get his chance another day.
Man, that phrase is just... I thought about saying it for Terra. I thought about saying it for Fox. Goddamn Smash 4. That phrase has just been ruined.
Fox will get his chance another day. Terra,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Also-
early prediction, Fox is going to be in the Smash 64 roster.
at that point, no argument against
Let's
him.
just be free. But as far as the NES is concerned, Smash is up to 16 characters.
16 characters for 16 bits. 8 characters for 8 bits, actually. Nice.
So 64 characters for 64 bits?
No!
Yeah.
No!
Bottom.
No! God, no! Fuck, we won't get to 64 characters. Well, it'll be more than 64 characters until we get to talk about Smash for Wii U and 3DS. It'll be a while before we get to 64 different characters.
It's going to be interesting to see where this conversation goes when the series does see some
When we
blow.
start varying up a bit more, because these first two, not only between like Jonno and myself, but with whoever with Eve at last episode and with you this episode, Turbo, there's a lot of crossover. But as we get deeper into this, it's going to get a lot more varied, and that's when things are going to get really complicated.
I am glad that we had Jake and Trevor to help us pad out these earlier episodes, though, because these were two guests that we could trust to make a solid foundation, because these 16 characters will be the 16 characters representative of Smash moving forward.
Yeah,
It was important to have a base roster that made sense.
because as we said before, we are not cutting characters with this project because that's just going to be a bitch and a half to even consider thinking about. So every character that gets added will continue throughout every game.
Yeah.
Which is why it's important that we don't take future knowledge into account. Or
Mhm.
try not to.
Even though the headcanon, I think, that you established last episode was Sakurai has traveled from the future into the past.
Yes.
I was
It's-
like, I thought Gunpei Yokoi developed this game, but okay.
What I mean by that, it's not literally like Sakurai's time traveling. It's more like we're pulling Sakurai's capabilities to be able to make Smash, because
Right.
he's the brains of the operation. He's the heart and the soul of Smash. So we need Sakurai to kind of like be our hypothetical director, thinking, kind of trying to think through his lens.
Right. Funnily enough, though, Sakurai could be the canon director of 64, so there we go.
I mean,
Could be the canon director now, actually.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
hoodle. We got our 16. Next up, Super Smash Bros. 64, where we will be adding 10 more characters total for a total of 26, and we'll be opening the slots for no more than 2 more third-party characters out of those 10.
The world is opening up.
Indeed it is. We are moving on from a deadline of 12/31/95 to 1/31/98. It's a quick turnaround, but that's more or less, it's relatively close to when Smash 64 would have been working, and we're trying to keep it as close as possible to dates that we know. So, not going to be too many more years and games to pull from for Smash 64, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Turbo, any closing remarks?
Well, I thank you guys for having me. It's always a blast to be on here with you guys. Really love this new format. It's really fun to take in these conversations and really take a good think of who we'd be really picking. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Thank you, Trevor. And until next time, where you will surely return.
Indeed. All right. For all you people who watch and listen, if you have any thoughts about this roster, if you think we were crazy to include certain characters or not include certain characters, tell us. We're always curious to see what people think.
Kirby, I can't believe you.
Where's fucking Day-to-Day? Where's Dynablade?
Where's Big Al?
Where's Shy Guy?
Maybe that's just around the bend.
Maybe. All right. That's it. We'll see you all in the Nintendo 64.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.